and CEO at El Paso startup Parabic, a company that's helping Flutter-based app development teams with designer and development handoff. Ivan is also involved with the El Paso startup ecosystem, where he is the chapter director of Startup Grind in El Paso. He hosts entrepreneurs and investors locally and abroad to help educate El Paso on startup-related topics such as tactics, fundraising, and resources. So both of you are very connected to the innovation startup ecosystem in El Paso. Welcome, and thank you both for being here. So, great. So first of all, this is just a brief intro, what I've just done about your work, but I'm sure you both have so much more to tell us. I would like to start, if you could share with the audience that sound familiar with your organizations, could you share us your programs, what is Progress 321 and Startup Grind? I would like to start with Tresa. Would you go first?
Thank you, Alberto. Also, thank you, MCA, for inviting me to represent Progress 321, and also for MCA being a corporate partner of ours since our inception. Ironically, this organization was birthed about 5.5 years ago by some innovators in our region, including Emma Schwartz with MCA. So it is about connecting our visionaries who share a passion for the region, and giving them access to leaders and innovators locally and regionally who have a national global influence that's focused mainly on economic development and quality of life initiatives. We also are about empowering our progressors, is what we call our members, to be able to make a difference in our region. And we do that through a variety of different programming. We have some where we assist any of our members that are interested in local or statewide service in helping them find those positions where that they can use their leadership to the betterment of our community. We do programming, much like you all do, again, with panels featuring regional speakers that can inform us with what is going on in the community and how we can make a difference in it. We have a couple of signature projects that we do. One is One Region, One Table, and that is a culinary celebration of our region, featuring chefs from Juarez, Las Cruces, and El Paso. They come together and then make one fantastic meal where we're all sitting at one long table with 300 people, and it's paired with wine. It's just a beautiful, beautiful evening. That is one of our fundraisers. And our biggest initiative that we're working on now is embracing expats, people who consider El Paso or this region their home. They've left, but they still have a love for this region. And we have a variety of programs that we do to involve them. One of them being a program that will launch for our second year, September 15th, 915, called El Paso Everywhere. And the goal is to bring these expats into our community, show them how we've been progressing, and to ask them to give back to the region that birthed them. And they can give back in a variety of ways. So the goal of this initiative isn't necessarily to have expats move back here, although our first year of the 25 expats that came for our program, 2 of them did move back and bring their businesses here. But the goal is to really bring an economic impact to the community through these people who no longer live here, but love our community. So any of you on here, we are developing a master hub of expats. So if you know of people that fit this, you think they'd be interested in seeing the programming that we do and possibly coming in for the event that we have, you can personal message me, send me an email, but we'll add them to our database. And that's us in a nutshell.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Ivan?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm the chapter director for Startup Grind. Startup Grind's a larger company, and it's based in the Bay Area, and its sole purpose is really to just build a community around startups. And so my job here in El Paso is to put together events where we host entrepreneurs, investors, and domain experts primarily, and we'll have a fireside chat and usually discuss their story, because I think people's stories are very interesting, and you can attach yourselves to that And then you can learn about a lot of the expertise that they have. So yeah, I started that, I believe, in 2018. And I think the reason why I started is actually kind of relevant to this discussion. In like 2017, late 2017 or 2018, I was fortunate enough to travel to the Bay Area. And one of the things that I found that was different about the Bay Area was just like the way people, functioned together through their relationships. I've been to other cities, and one of the things that I found is people are less likely to share ideas. They're less likely to help each other than what I saw in the Bay Area, and I thought that was super interesting. And shortly after that, I went to the Startup Grind conference, and they had three values, three company values, and the first was, we believe in making friends, not contacts. The second is, we believe in giving first, not taking. And the third was, we believe in helping others before helping yourself. And that really resonated with me, and is essentially what I felt like I saw in the Bay Area versus any other city that I had been in. And basically what I wanted to do was bring those values and try to build a community around that here in El Paso. And that's why I asked Startup Grind if I could start a chapter here in El Paso, and thankfully they agreed. So that's our background.
Great. So it's really interesting how both of your organizations touch this part of fostering innovation or programs through relationships, but both of them are for different audiences, aimed at different audiences. So that kind of goes to show that how relationships really do affect the different areas of development of the city. So for, again, entering the topic of this discussion, we're looking for how relationships foster the innovation. And it's pretty, we usually talk about it like pretty straightforward. We need to create more relationships to foster innovation, to foster entrepreneurship, but it's not like a clear path. Like, we have relationships and then we have innovation. So first of all, I guess my first question would be, how have you seen relationships, like specifically, foster innovation? And if you could give us some clear examples. I would like to start now with you, Ivan, and with Startup Grind.
Sure. So I think I have less visibility from the Startup Grind area, but I have some visibility to this from me being an entrepreneur as well. And one of the things that I really value through relationships is really three things. It's brought me three things, which is getting access to talent. So it's really important to bring a really good team together to work on whatever you're working on. The second thing is it's been primarily the main way for us to raise money. So it's given us access to capital. And lastly, access to partnerships with larger companies and stuff like that. Kind of going back to what I was seeing in Silicon Valley is they aren't smarter than anybody here in El Paso. It was really just like the speed at which people were sharing ideas and knowledge with each other that I think was a key difference, because that's what's allowed people to iterate very quickly, and that's why I think the Bay Area produces the biggest companies so far. So that's really how I've seen relationships foster innovation.
So if I understood correctly, well, the biggest one is access to resources, to talent, to the capital, and all of that really wouldn't work if you don't have the relationships. And the other thing is sharing ideas, the opportunity to share and to comment and to grow with each other. That's great. Tresa, do you have anything else to comment on that?
Yes, and I think it's great how you just summarized access. I mean, that is one of the things progress is about, is giving our progressors access to each other, who, right, brings together a unique way to further yourself professionally and personally, but also access to community leaders that they might not otherwise have that access to. For me, I think any innovation is sparked through surrounding yourself by people that aren't exactly like yourself. If you bring together people who will think differently, have different backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, and with the mindset that no idea is a bad idea, unless just something good can come from it all, is where you can really come up with innovative ideas. One thing that happened with Progress that was quite interesting, during the pandemic, of course, we could not host our events. So our El Paso Everywhere event, first held in 2019, we could not hold in 2020. And there was a couple of our expats who we were staying in touch with, and just here's what's going on in El Paso, inviting them to our virtual programming. And they actually reached out and said, we know that Progress is sustaining themselves just on membership dues right now, and we want to support you. So we want to become members, and we think you should start an expat membership, a way where that people that still believe in this city and they believe in what Progress is doing and believe in our expat initiative, we want to help you, and that way it can help spark new, funding for the organization. So it was through our desire to engage expats into our community to do El Paso Everywhere, but staying in contact with them, especially when everything was virtual, right? That actually gave us an opportunity to engage them even more. It came from them. So without those relationships, if we had not started them and kept them, that whole new angle now that Progress has as creating now members that don't live in El Paso, allows not only our progressors to have an outreach now to people that are in other cities, but it now allows these other people in other cities to stay connected with what's happening in our city. So I think that was, again, came from relationships that had been made, and it strictly came from them.
Yeah, so they wouldn't have the opportunity to engage on that level if the relationships hadn't been in place and if the network was absent, right? So also having the relationships gives the opportunity to do things. That's great. You're both expert networkers. Is it hard to start building those business networks from the ground up? Like, for example, if someone is just starting out on their entrepreneurship journey, or someone, even a business owner that wants to get more involved in the community but doesn't have the connections. So building up those networks, do you think it's hard?
Who do you want to go first?
Yeah, sorry. Let's start with you, Tresa.
Okay. I don't think it's hard. I think it's a matter of getting out and meeting people. And I know not everyone feels the same comfort level of maybe walking into a room where you don't know anyone. I always tell people in that situation, if you're not comfortable for it, there's other people in that room that are also not comfortable, and they might be standing there by themselves. And that's the perfect one to go up to and just kind of engage with that individual. For me, the third day on my job, I went to a Central Business Association luncheon. I knew nothing about CBA. I just had gotten an email, and the Borderplex Alliance was speaking, and I thought I needed to know what they were about. I went to this meeting really not knowing much about my job, and everyone was going up to this one guy and just saying, congratulations, congratulations. So I was intrigued with who this individual was. And I used to live in El Paso, right? And then left for 13 years to move to Austin. And so I was an expat myself and came back. So people that meeting were coming up to me saying, hey, you're back. This is great. So by the time we left this meeting, this individual came up to me, and it was our incoming county judge, Ricardo Samaniego. And he goes, who are you? Everybody's coming up to you. And I go, well, who are you? Everybody's coming up to you. We spent 45 minutes after that meeting talking. He was completely, never had heard of Progress 321, but was interested in what it was. We followed up with a lunch where I engaged him more with what was going on. I let him know that we were interested in developing this El Paso Everywhere concept, which actually came from a concept out of Detroit. And there was a group of us that was going to go to Detroit to check their event out. Judge Samaniego went with us to Detroit, experienced it, and since then has been a huge advocate for our organization. So that has been a really, really key relationship for Progress 321. And it started by just getting out and going to network at an organization. And for me, Central Business Association is businesses that are in the central area, and they're really good contacts. So you just have to put yourself out. I'm also a believer, and I know lots of people are like, business cards are out. They're no longer the thing. I think they are not out. I have a rather creative business card, and when I hand it out, it immediately kind of sets the tone for what kind of brand you want for yourself. So I still believe in that. But one of the things I do in developing my network, and I do this for a variety of reasons, the moment I meet someone, so when we were on a call last week and I just had met Ivan, I immediately went to LinkedIn and befriended Ivan and said, hey, we're starting our networking. But I do that so that if I've met them, I follow up with a comment about how that I met them. But that allows me now to have this network that I can always go to. And sometimes I'll do it through Facebook as well. But I do that so that I can remember who these people are that I met, but then I also just have a tracking of them. And so it was great to then go on and go, oh, wow, Ivan and I have a mutual friend, Eric Pavia, who I think is also on this call. And Eric was one of Progress 321's board members. So you immediately find a way to connect with someone this way. And that makes it just that much easier to keep the relationship credible and an excuse to keep it going as well.
Great. Ivan, would you like to add something?
Sure. I agreed with what Tresa said. One of the things is like, I agree that it's not hard, but I think it takes a lot of time to build a network. I think that's probably like the biggest challenge, and probably the most intimidating thing is and maybe people recognize that or maybe they don't, but yeah, it just takes a lot of time, because I don't think one of the approaches I've taken to meeting people like at an event or something is just like individual conversations and making that a really meaningful conversation. Not, I've met people who are just networking for like the sake of networking, and I don't think they make that much progress when they do that. But the people who I sit there and I really listen and I ask about their story and stuff, those are the people who I almost feel like are friends now, if that makes sense. And one thing, I'm an engineer, so like a lot of engineers are identified as introverts, and I think there's a perception that you need to be an extrovert to network. And I actually think that introverts have a really good advantage, because they are able to get really excited with the one-on-one conversation. So for all the introverts that might be nervous about reaching out to somebody, like recognize that in many ways you have an advantage there. And the last thing I think I can touch on is I think a really big rule of thumb that was shared with me a long time ago was to bring value to the relationship before asking for any favors. One example is one of my friends had brought an investor in town who I got to meet here in El Paso. He was based in New York. He's a healthcare investor, and I don't work in healthcare, so the relationship with him having expertise in healthcare wasn't that useful, and vice versa. But I went to New York and I messaged him and said, hey, I'm in town, if you're down to get a coffee or something. And he actually needed help with like some IT stuff with his email. And I ended up helping him over like 4 hours while I was out there. And immediately it kind of just seemed like I wasted a bunch of time. But in the long run, 6 months later, I sent him an update on the company, and he ended up making a bunch of intros to other investors that he knew that might be interested. And so, that's something that I did that it immediately could have seemed like I was wasting time, but actually provided a lot of value for me in the long run. So I think it's really important to try to provide as much value as you can before you ask for something.
Yeah, usually I've seen that people think that networking and creating meaningful business relationships is hard. It's Besides the point that you said, Teresa, about actually putting yourself out there and going to meet new people, maintaining that business relationship, and how do you like keeping in contact and not just split, go different ways. Why do you think people think that it's hard to create those meaningful relationships? I'll start with you, Ivan.
So why do I think people believe that creating meaningful business relationships is hard?
Yeah, besides the getting out and putting yourself out there, like the initial meeting people, that's hard, building the network, but also maintaining it and creating meaning out of it.
Yeah. I think just like treating a business relationship is a lot like a friendship. If you don't check in with your friends and see if they're okay, they're not going to be your friend for much longer. And so, yeah, I think just checking in and giving updates, and especially one thing is like if you ask for advice or something and they give you advice, one thing that's super important if you want to keep receiving advice or keep receiving help is reaching back out and giving that person an update and say, hey, after our conversation, I did this, and that, and it helped me with all of this. And so I just want to thank you for that. Just saying thank you. And people like to help people. It's so. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's one way to maintain a relationship.
Okay. Yeah, Teresa, would you like some?
Ivan and I, it's like we talked ahead of time because we're so right on with everything. I think a lot of people are intimidated by the word networking, and think that it's maybe negative word, or it's all about asking favors or selling yourself. And like what Ivan just said a minute ago, I like to think of networking as I'm about to make a bunch of new friends. And for me, I'm about curiosity, and the best way to engage with someone is asking a lot of questions, because everyone wants to talk about themselves. So I absolutely am someone that is asking personal, professional, whatever question might be fitting for the situation. And I genuinely do want to know about people. And I think by knowing some little niche that maybe I can connect with is what helps me. Oh, I like your clapping, Ivan. Some niche or whatever it is that you can find out about them is what you can hang on to maintain that uniqueness, right? Like maybe you're a mountain biker and they're a mountain biker, or they've got kids and you do, whatever it might be. I also think in networking situations, it can't be just all about you and my business and what do you do. And sometimes there's that person, they're just handing you the business card and they're on to the next one if they don't think you can help them. You're going to see right through that, and that is not going to create a meaningful relationship. So I actually consider myself as the director for Progress 321 as a matchmaker. Like I feel like it's my job to connect people. If we're at an event, I make sure everybody's getting to meet somebody new or someone. Actually, we just had a brand new member join last week. He's retired military from Alaska. He flies for Alaska Airlines, professional photographer, starting a business, doing leadership development, and was interested in working with Progress. And then I find out our vice president of Progress yesterday tells me she's going to Alaska for a month. And we're going to be exploring there and working from there. And I'm like, wow, you got to meet this new guy who can connect you. So those are the kinds of things that I think can help with a meaningful relationship. And in roles like that Ivan and I have, and even MCA, right? We all have people who have entrusted themselves in our organizations to help develop relationships. And if we can help make those relationships happen, then it makes our organizations more valuable. And then it does give our members of all of our organizations, right, meaning to continue to be engaged in it, because you are making those professional, personal relationships.
Great. So we've talked about meeting new people, creating relationships, and also about maintaining them. But another key aspects of relationships is that even if you maintain it, some of them are just shallow. Most business relationships are shallow and unfruitful. It's hard to, when you meet someone, to actually transform that relationship into something of value or something. What are the main issues with that, with bearing fruit of relationships? Are there some lessons learned that you could share or problems you've encountered? I would like to, again, go back with you, Tresa.
Um, I think for everyone, it's bandwidth. There's only so much time we have to invest in all the relationships that we have. For me, I try to find a time that's appropriate. So I am big in, like I said, immediately when I meet someone, I go and engage with them onto social media. So I do try to follow if they posted a success. Right now, we've got a bunch of UTEP MBA people posting their pictures. So I'm following up personally saying congratulations for that. If they're a member, we actually post it through our social network. So I look for ways like that where I can at least engage with them when it might be appropriate. So maybe whoever just got their MBA, I might not have a reason to reach out to them because there's only so much you can do, right? But if there's something that I know makes sense for them, or something's not, they're going through a challenge, then I try to reach out with them too. I find one way of really enhancing a relationship is getting to know their significant other or their children, or at least asking them about it. And if they're posting pictures of their kids, man, you like that, or you ask them about their kids, because there's nothing else that anybody ever wants to talk more about than how great their kids are, right? It's really finding what is meaningful to that relationship and how can you stay interested in that and help them through it. It's a lot of what Ivan said before. I just think that, I guess I don't like to think of any relationship I have as shallow. I just like to think of it as nobody has enough time to take and maintain all the relationships they have. And it's just put the effort into it when the time's appropriate. And when you have that time, I do know that I started at the beginning of COVID, but then everything got really crazy. But my goal was every day I would send a postcard out to one of our members, because I thought that's not overwhelming. It's just one postcard. I'd have them pre-stamped. I'll pre-address them and I'll get a note out. And that went for a while, but I didn't maintain it just because of other bandwidth, right? But I think we can also place goals like that we might be able to obtain, and that can help keep the relationship going. It's all yours, Ivan.
Yes, I don't have much more to add to that. I think the only thing I can say is like through an example that that I experienced, but like I really think that like not every single business relationship has to be like your best friend. You know what I mean? You don't have to have infinite best friends. You can have just your core best friends, and then maybe these other relationships that aren't as relevant. You keep them close, but you don't bother them with like. I'll walk through an example. So the first startup that I worked on was an application for restaurants, and I was able to get an advisor who had started a really large restaurant chain, and eventually we ended up pivoting away from that. And even though he has expertise in like finance and stuff, the relevance didn't make as much sense. And so now, I keep in touch with him, but mostly just as a friend, not necessarily as a business relationship anymore, because I'm not providing any value to him, and frankly, he's not going to be able to provide much value to what I was doing at that time anymore. So I think that's okay, and I think that accepting that and focusing on the relationships that are really, really important to you is probably a better use of that time.
Yeah, I'm actually remembering ones that I heard Gary Vee. I know that networker, and that said, when meeting new relationships, sometimes it's better to just upfront understand that, there's nothing I can do for you, there's nothing you can do for me, but we go past that and establish the relationship, just like contacts, just like friends. So there's not the pressure to do some business. There's not pressure to bring any fruit out of the relationship, and it relieves that pressure. And yeah, that's great.
And
So
Alberto, just to add to that, just because we make a relationship right at say tomorrow, and maybe there's not an immediate value that we think we can give to each other, personal, professionally, it doesn't mean that that value might not be down the road. Thus why the moment I met Ivan, I went on and befriended him on LinkedIn, right? So I think when you make that first contact with somebody and you at least go on to the professional platform that most people use through LinkedIn, you have that already established then. And then there might down the road be a time that you actually would need or could help that person with value.
great. So
Absolutely right.
yeah. So as a thought experiment, if you had to start all over, like for example, moving to a new country or a new city, and not having anyone contact or any network to tap into, what would you do? What would be your plan moving forward? What general principles would you base on start building those relationships? Now I would like to start with Ivan, please.
Okay. So I can actually walk through this. So I think in 2018, I lived in Austin for a little bit. So I moved over there, and I didn't really have like a network out there. So the first thing I did was I got a co-working space membership because there was people there. So and people relevant to me working on a startup. Second thing I did, I'm a programmer, so I can talk to other programmers. Programmers like to talk about code, stuff that they're building. And so I looked at the meetups on meetup.com and found a few meetups that I thought were really interesting. And so I attended those and met people there. I can't remember like any concrete examples, but I'm pretty sure there were people that I came across LinkedIn or something, and I reached out for just like to grab a coffee, and having like a really specific ask or why like you're reaching out. People like to help, so I'm certain that I met some people that way as well. Yeah, I think. Oh, and attending like conferences and stuff like South by Southwest. You can go through like the booths and stuff and talk to people. I think that's all I can remember from that experience. But that's if I were to have to start over, I would probably just do the exact same thing. But I think one key thing is finding the relevance, because like as a programmer and entrepreneur, then it made sense to go to like startup and engineering or software engineering events. So.
Yeah, a huge shout out to co-working spaces. That they are pretty good sites to go to. Tresa, what would you do?
Well, it's interesting, Ivan, because I actually went to Austin as well and didn't know a lot of people, although ironically in Austin, there is a whole lot of El Pasoans. And once I figured that out, we actually started a group many, many years ago called El Paso Austinites. But we were just a happy hour group. There now exists many, many affiliate organizations that are like El Pasoans living in Austin, El Pasoans living in Dallas. So as an El Pasoan, if I was to move, say, to LA, I would seek out one of those groups. I'm not sure if these type of groups exist for Austinites living in LA, but there are groups, right, where people like to get together from where you consider home and talk about it. So I would search for that. Ivan mentioned this earlier, and I'm a huge believer in it, and I've seen lots and lots of examples of it. And basically, I think if you are new to a city, you need to bring value to your industry and that city before you start to be asking. I kind of consider it a give before you ask, or give before you get. So I would go in and research, where can I volunteer my services? So let's say I have a perfect example with a gal that is, she does social media and builds websites and such. And she was new to town. The company that hired her said, look at Progress 321. And she was super shy, and she was interested in our organization. I got her instantly involved in one of our committees, and I just said, you're in charge of setting our brand for this event. It was actually One Region, One Table. Through that, she developed friends through our organization. She enhanced her business relationships, and she's a completely different individual through that experience. It's not only grown the agency where she works through the contacts she made through Progress, but she, as a person, is now a leader. She's actually on our board of directors. So she volunteered all these services to us, but that opened up, it was something we needed, but it opened up a way for her to make personal and professional relationships. So I would say there's so many nonprofits out there. So where can you support somebody with your expertise? I would research key blogs and social platforms, like Ivan said, that have the relevance, and make sure you're active on it, not just what can I read, but give comments back, share things, let them say, get that value from it. And another example that's great is there is a gal that used to be a progressor, and she started a new job as an executive director of a nonprofit. And she has reached out to me asking me questions that are pertinent to a 501c3 that she wasn't aware of. So she's decided, she approached me to see if we could start a group, just a informal group of nonprofit executive directors in El Paso that can just get together and network and share commonalities and challenges that we have. And so that was somebody that was new to her industry, but knew if she would get together like-minded people like herself, that we can all grow and share and help. So I would say those would be great ways of engaging into a new community. Get out of your comfort zone.
We have a question in the chat box from Nancy, who says that both of you run organizations that are based on individuals being involved in events and programming. How crucial are these types of organizations to build an innovation ecosystem? What can we do to build and promote more of these organizations? Tresa, would you like to start?
So let me make sure I understand what she's asking. Well, okay, I'm a huge believer in membership organizations. I've been involved in Junior League, Rotary, executive forums. I believe everything that you really do in your life is based on relationships. If I need a plumber and there happens to be a plumber in an organization I'm in, I'm going to that plumber, even if he's a little bit more expensive, because it's a relationship and I know that relationship will take care of me. I feel like, what can we do to promote these organizations? I think one, if all the organizations do collaborate and don't view themselves as competition, but how can we help each other? Because almost every organization has its own little niche, right, that fits. And frankly, you want to be involved in a variety of organizations. You need that niche one that's exactly what your career is, but then you need one that's broader based. Maybe that's just women organization. And then you need one that will help expand your horizon. So I think organizations working together, much like this gal that reached out to me for executive directors to come together, would fuel innovation for sure for our region and give us opportunities to collaborate together in ways that maybe we wouldn't, have if we didn't put together that sort of another opportunity to do that.
Great. Ivan, would you like to comment something else?
Yeah, I don't think I have a great answer for this one. I think organizations that are trying to host events to help the entrepreneurs, innovators, and inventors is really important to just get people together. As I mentioned earlier, like the one of the key differences that I saw in the Bay Area is just like how quickly people were sharing ideas and iterating on them together. And I think these organizations in El Paso can help do that, and hopefully that can get embedded into the culture that we have in El Paso, and then we should start seeing some pretty awesome companies get built out of El Paso. What can we do to build and promote more of these organizations in El Paso? Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough one. Nancy, what do you think? So, yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah, okay, great. So we're coming up onto the hour, and I just have one last question I would like to address. COVID. So COVID has been a game changer for all industries. How have you seen the COVID impact business relationships and networking? Is it done differently? And now that everything is built virtual, are they upsides, downsides? How do you see the impact of COVID? So, Ivan, would you like to start?
Sure. So at first it was really weird because you know, I think the best examples that I have in my head are primarily with investors. Investors have never normally do not make investments unless they meet the person in person, and that, you know, obviously was not going to be possible for the next year at least, and so that had to change, and so people started, you know, switching over to Zoom, which we're on, so everybody in here's at least used it once, and you know, that's at first it was weird, but I'm actually now kind of thankful for this because it opens up a lot of opportunities. Previously, you know, I was trying to travel to the Bay Area, which is expensive, to meet different investors, and now it's normalized for me to just jump on a call over Zoom. And I even have investors that I've never been in person at all. So that's you know, because that's normalized, that's made it so much cheaper to network and build relationships. You know, and one cool thing is, you know, you can be on a call with somebody in Japan at 9 a.m. and then talking to somebody in New York or the Bay Area at 9:30 a.m. You know, I think that's amazing. And so the negative consequences of this are partly just like it's a little bit harder to read people because you can't see their body language. So that's probably the toughest challenge, but people are still developing relationships without that. So all in all, I actually think it's good that we accelerated into normalizing Zoom networking.
Tresa?
100% with what he said. I think that this isn't going to go away. I think that we will see kind of both types of programming going on. For us, like Ivan said, virtual allowed us to engage with people all over the world. So when we had to pivot and start doing virtual programming, our second virtual program was on Earth Day. And we have an expat that her name is Syria, and she was Miss Earth Day USA many years ago, and she was living in Italy. So she was experiencing everything heightened that was happening with COVID when we were just starting to get it. So we did a virtual program with her, and it was to celebrate Earth Day, but at the same time, she was able to talk to us, and she's very passionate about El Paso, and her grandmother raised her and still lives here. So she was really trying to also help us with what we needed to be doing to be fruitful with what was forthcoming with the pandemic. And the beautiful thing is she moved back and she's living here, and she's also a progressor. So those types of relationships were enhanced because we had that ability to engage with people. And for us, it also allows us then to engage the expats that Progress is embracing into virtual programming, because now it's so much easier, right? Like they're not going to, like Ivan said, it's hard to get on and just expense-wise fly somewhere. Well, now we can just get on and do this. I also think in a lot of situations, it's made some of the relationships a little more authentic, because you have, oh, I'm so sorry, the dog's barking, or my cat jumped up on here, and oh, the baby's crying, oh, look, my little 4-year-old wants to show you the drawing. And you know, when you have that authenticness, it really fosters a much more openness and communication. You know, you feel that personalizedness about them, and it kind of accelerates the trust. It's like we become into your home, right? So I think that's been positive for us. I also think there's just been innovation in, and Ivan, you probably do this. I've done it once, but I've had lots of people reach out to me to join this clubhouse where you drop in audio conversations. So, right, Ivan, you're shaking your head. Have you done it yet? So I think there's been innovation around what we need to do to develop relationships and engage with people in ways that won't be in person. And what about all the drive-by celebrations, right? My daughter missed out on her graduation from UT, so we had to do a drive-by celebration. So I think we got creative with it in ways to still leave a meaningful impact for what it needed to be. And again, those relationships we meet like right now on here, it's up to us if we want to continue to engage that relationship, you know, by going to LinkedIn and connecting with everyone.
Great. So everyone, we're coming up to the hour. We still have a couple more questions, especially from the audience that are very interesting and I would like to touch. But before everyone has to log off, if they have to continue with their evening, I would like to thank everyone for joining. And of course, you're invited to hang on just a bit longer to go over some audience questions. So the first one that I would like to ask both of you is with regard to the innovations ecosystem, what can we do to actively cultivate the next generation of innovators, like the up and coming, the kids or the college students or whatever? What can we do to cultivate? And these questions, I would like to have them like short 1 minute responses, just to keep them pretty quick and active. Yeah. So Tresa, would you like to start?
I think we need a more systemized mentorship program that goes on. So if an undergrad is into engineering, and we have certain people, maybe they're UTEP alums or whatever it might be, where we can engage them to help them, meet the people that they need to and get involved in something that will help them along with their careers. I think it all relies on some system of mentorship.
Great. Ivan?
I think one big thing is, Paso, I don't think we have in our culture risk taking. I think we're a little bit more conservative, and I think that limits the amount of ideas that people are pursuing. So I think educating our youth on seeing entrepreneurship and innovation as a pathway, educating students that they can do that, it should in the long run change things, and also just accepting failure as like a really good thing. I personally have failed many times, and I blame that failure to a lot of the successful things that do happen in my life. So I think that's really good.
Great. And both of you mentioned that when networking and creating relationships, it's better to offer value and to offer and to give before you ask. What would you recommend to undergrads that are still in the process of gaining a career, starting a career, gaining knowledge and networking? What would be your recommendation for networking? Ivan, would you like to start?
Sure. So, I had these two high school students that used to actually help me with Startup Grind. but they offered to help me for free. They helped manage the social media and stuff, and that's sort of you know, they didn't have anything to provide value to me as far as like in other words, I was the mentor in this situation. And so in this scenario, because they helped me, I took them to Silicon Valley and took them to the global startup grind conference and stuff. So I think you know, reaching out to people who you want mentorship from, and offering to work for free. Even I did that too when I was even in high school, and that pays off a lot in the long run.
Tresa?
Absolutely. Everything that we talked about for anyone that's hypothetically moving to a new city, what would you do? I believe that's what the undergrad should do. And I think if they should seek out what kind of company / leader that they want to align with and see how they can get involved. And it's about, I'm eager to learn and give to you. I will come in and help. I mean, almost any nonprofit organization is in need of anyone that can come and volunteer their services, and that would be a great way for them to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of you. This whole conversation has been filled with wisdom nuggets, and I hope everyone on the audience has taken out some key things that they could apply to their networking, to their relationships, and foster innovation. So if no one else has any other questions, I saw that Ivan, you've already answered one from Nancy on the comments. So we're coming up to the hour, and before handing over to Nancy for closing the event, thank you, Ivan, Tresa, for being guests of this, being part of this series of Tech Tuesdays. And also, I would like to invite everyone in the audience for our next month. Tech Tuesday is going to be an innovator showcase. We're going to have 2 startups from the Innovation Center that have we feel pretty proud of and have shown a lot of progress, and we will have them showcasing their startups, their work, and their experience. Just for anybody that's still on the fence on going the entrepreneurship route, we'll have them there ready to take any questions and comment on it. So thank you all, and Nancy, I'll hand it over to you for the closing.
So Alberto, Tresa, and Ivan, thank you so much for your participation. I thought it was a great program, and I can't stress enough that people listen to what you said about creating networks based on strong relationships, not just trying to see what you can get out of someone else, but based on really creating friendships and relationships that will last. And so thank you again. And I'll keep the link open for a little bit so you can look at the chat and get everyone's contact information. And if you want to look again at the postings we've put up there for the opportunities that we have open at the MCA. And once again, it's Tuesday. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and thank you. We'll see you next month, June. Bye-bye, everyone.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. So Ivan, is Startup Grind still holding events?
Yes, you know, I definitely had a pause for a little bit after COVID. I just didn't know how to throw an in-person event, and at first I didn't like the idea of doing a virtual event. but then, recently, about like 3 months ago, I realized that like I need to be doing that because it's these types of events that whether it's here in El Paso or some other community that I'm part of, that's made a really big impact for me, and so I feel like I need to be doing my job and doing something for the community. So and Startup Grind is sort of my outlet for doing that. So started dedicating my Saturdays for community, and so I have, I'm supposed to host 10 events for every year, and I think I have at least half of them for this year. And I've already figured out how I'm going to host the rest of the events this year. So yeah, we're all figured out for 2021.
Okay, so well, if you need any help pushing out, more than happy to tag your social media, put it in our newsletter.
Thank you so much.
Send it out to my ecosystem list, okay? Just let us
Yep.
know. You always have
I will.
really interesting speakers.
Thank you so much. Oh, and still happy to do that intro. I don't know if you, to the previous speaker, for JC Rico, the sales guy, the sales engine guy.
Yes, I need to do that. I'm going to put that on my long to-do list.
No, all good.
And
All good.
I will do it because he does need some sales assistance.
Cool.
Okay,
Perfect.
I'll get that done.
Yeah, the Vemidoc, right?
Yeah, VemiDoc, they're as I said, a virtual health platform.
I did saw that they
Gotcha.
got investment from Saba, right? Recently.
Yeah, I know they were seeking one.
Yeah, I think that they confirmed that they've sealed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're an interesting company. So Ivan,
Awesome.
well, you got your first seed investment just recently too, right? 5 months ago?
Yeah, we closed everything up in December, and we still considered a pre-seed round. It was a small amount of 300K. So I'm in the middle of fundraising again right now. So
we have the seed fund that should be opening. We should start raising and the fund at the end of the summer and open it by the winter, by late winter.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's
So
great.
there'll be a lot of balloons and everything going up when that happens. So you'll know. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. So does anybody else who's hanging out on the Zoom have anything they want to discuss? If not, we'll close it off.
Ask a question, Gamma. I know Gamma.
So Gamma, are you new in town, from here, back in town?
I moved to Midland, Odessa about 8-9 years ago, and I started a little startup. And I was choosing a city where to start it or have the headquarters. So it was like between Dallas and Austin, and all those big metro places. But obviously, I have family here, and I really strongly believe in local economic growth, right? So El Paso it was.
And is your startup called ESCO? Am I saying that right?
Yes, ma'am. Let's go. Correct.
And what do you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, we're a service company, sort of like Uber. We do a peer-to-peer on-demand delivery. So let's say you need something from point A, then you go into obviously the app or desktop, and then you decide what you want to pay. And that's the biggest takeaway from other traditional delivery platforms. But yeah, essentially it's like another Uber, but with a more open network infrastructure.
So I just look for esgo.com.
Esgodelivery.com.
Esgodelivery.com. Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah,
Interesting.
definitely. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of progress. Actually, Ivan, I was hearing about whole networking and all that, and it's just so crazy how much value. I'm gonna set Ivan for example. How much Ivan has given me a lot of value and insights. So that's pretty cool.
And you're a Green Bay Packer fan
Yes, man. Go Brett Favre.
too. They're my team, I have to say. I actually own a cheese head.
My friend owns my roommate owns two stocks.
Oh,
I
does he
design
really?
Yeah, but to be honest, it's just bragging rights. It's not something crazy. So, and it was like $800 a pop.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, they were going crazy for it, and I opt out because I didn't want to spend $900 on a bragging paper.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be tempting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
alrighty. Well, nice to meet you. We're on LinkedIn, and that's how I connect. I'll try to shoot
Okay.
you an invite,
right.
but thank you for the event.
All right, you're welcome. And I will close it off now. Thank you again to everybody and to Alberto for the great job you did. Ivan, thank you.